So I think let's begin the talk. Give me a moment to
Okay.
share my screen. Okay, can you all see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So I'm Jaina from Wovensouls. I've been collecting for a while, and I thought, in these times of COVID, let's put together some knowledge sharing. We'll have some fun sitting in our own homes. So here we are. This is the second in the series of online talks. Now, these talks are all non-academic because my education has been in the field of physics and business, and I'm not formally trained in the field of art at all. So this talk is not meant to deliver knowledge. It's more to create an interest in this group of textiles. Albert Einstein said that the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious, because it is the mystery, the things we do not understand, that spark off 1,000 thoughts in 1,000 different directions. And those sparks become little firecrackers that keep our minds alive and entertained. So when I told you that my name is Jaina, everybody just accepted that as a bland fact. There's nothing, to question here. But had I said that my name is New York or Spain or Japan, it would have raised a lot of questions in your mind. Why has she been named that? There is a story. What's the story? And so on. So a mystery can be quite entertaining and leads to an interesting journey. So today we shall take an exciting journey into the unknown and explore some textile mysteries. Let's hop onto an imaginary travel machine, since COVID won't allow us to hop onto real ones these days, and go to Indonesia. Indonesia is a country that has 17,500, between 17,500 and 18,300 islands. Just about 800, here and there, give or take 800. So when there is low tide, you have 18,300 islands. And when there is high tide, you have 17,500 islands. So a very interesting country. The red portion marked in Indonesia is Sumatra. And some of you may recognize Sumatra as the home of the Sumatran tiger and also the home to Sumatran coffee. Now, in our imaginary travel, we've been invited to an imaginary Sumatran wedding by the family of the groom. The wedding consists of several ceremonies and rituals, and for one of these, we visit their home. We watch the rituals with great interest and enjoy the local food. But as textile enthusiasts, our vision soon floats to the walls and we notice the decor. Now, at the wedding, we expected to see brightly colored new silk hangings and glittery canopies decorating the walls. But instead, we see old, faded cotton pieces hung up on the walls of the festive home. Now, the small pieces that are less than a square meter, they all look like they're old cotton pieces, fairly tired looking. They're frayed at the edges and have faded and have yellowed with age. It is clear that none of these pieces are new, but yet a dozen of them have been put there intentionally for the ceremonies. Choice of such heavily used items for such an important ceremony confuses us. From our urban perspective, these seem to be out of place and don't match with the atmosphere of pomp and celebration. We, the people of the cities, are used to seeing glitzy, glamorous, and expensive decorations on such occasions. As outsiders from the big city, we begin to ask each other, could the family afford better things? It is their son's wedding after all. And we begin to wonder if there is some financial constraint. We'd like to understand the situation, and so we we, the travelers, look for someone to explain this to us and turn to the lady sitting behind us. She is a great-great-grandmother and is happy to talk to us. Here's what she says. She says, the decor that you see hung up on the walls are Tampan Ship Cloths. All Tampan Ship Cloths are ceremonial textiles and are used at all major life event celebrations such as this one. They're passed down from generation to generation as family wealth. For real wealth is not what you have in your bank. Real wealth is within your identity. It is your means. It is the history of who you are. And one of the material manifestations of your identity, of our identity, is the Tampan Ship Cloth. These pieces that you see as old and dirty contain the memories of our family. These pieces have been present at every important milestone of every member of the family and have been present to witness our laughter and our tears. And these heirlooms have managed to capture time itself. No amount of money could buy us the family history that they hold. Now tell me, she asked, would you rather have these on your walls at your wedding or some commercially purchased decor? And we all sat silenced and spellbound. She went on to explain the traditions surrounding the tampan. Each type of textile, each type of the ship cloth comes with a specific set of rules for both usage and inheritance. For instance, the long ones that are over 10 feet long are called palepais, and they are inherited only by the oldest son in the clan. Palepais are hung up on walls at family gatherings and ceremonies. The smaller ones, the Tampan Ship Cloths, are inherited by all the descendants and have a variety of uses in ceremonies. They're exchanged as gifts between the families of the bride and groom and used as covers for food gifts. The tampan is also used to decorate the seat reserved for the most important people in the ceremony. So at a wedding, the seats of the bride and groom are covered with these. One is granted the personal use of this important textile only on a few occasions during one's life. And through that usage, it gets associated with one's personal milestones. And it is this connection that makes these textiles precious. As we absorb all of this data, we begin to drop our preconceived notions of poverty and wealth, and our perspective shifts. We now begin to see the soul of Tampan textiles and understand the beauty of these pieces. And so we go around the room again to take a second look. As we begin to pay a little more attention to the pieces, we notice the little men. And we can make out the shape of a boat. All the pieces seem to have these elements: men and boats. Again, we see ships and we see one ship and people. The omnipresence of these motifs in all tampans is intriguing. And so we go back to the grandma and ask her to explain their inclusion. And here is what she tells us. The ceremonies at which these ship cloths are used are all important life events that entail transition. For example, the transition from boyhood to manhood, the transition from being single to being married, from being a daughter to becoming a wife, or the transition in becoming a mother. We all know how difficult these transitions can be and how turbulent and stormy these phases are. They present challenges that demand internal psychological adjustments and require major changes in the way we conduct our life. So now let's hold on to this thought for a moment and take a look at the paradigm in which all of this is set. In Sumatra, which has a large coastal belt, movement between harbors across rough seas is a common, it happens all the time. And it is often necessary to cross from one safe harbor to another using a boat or a ship, a mid-sized boat. So the ship is seen as a vessel of safe passage across turbulence, and it enjoys an elevated status in the culture. Therefore, embedding the motif of a ship into a ceremonial textile symbolizes the offering of a blessing or a prayer for a safe and secure passage across life transitions that are being celebrated at the ceremony, but also have the potential to be troublesome. This role of a ship during transitions is seen not just in Sumatra, but also in all cultures across Southeast Asia, as I have personally witnessed. So when my husband who worked with Johnson & Johnson in Singapore, he was transferred to another country for an expatriate position. And his colleague gave us this little 6-inch boat. And this was in 2004. I hadn't begun collecting textiles. I didn't know what tampans were. And he explained that this little ship is a gift that will help you to cross over and transition into the new role and the new life successfully. So Simon and Garfunkel also, most of you will be familiar with them. They talk of a bridge over troubled waters. That's one of my favorite songs for times when I'm feeling troubled, obviously. Well, in Southeast Asia and in Sumatra in particular, they speak of a ship over troubled waters. Anyhow, before I get carried away with another story, let's come back to the words of the grandmother. Now, transitions are a difficult time. It is a time when we need to be supported by the scaffolding of action contributions from the people around us, our families. So the humans in this cloth depict the immediate family or the clan that provides the security and support needed during the transition. In most cases, the textile also represents the family tree at the time the textile was created. And in most examples, the structure is evident from the visual or the drawing that has been created. The head of the family is usually larger than the others or at a focal point in the drawing. In the case of this particular tampan, the interpretation, because that's what all we have, we just have interpretations. We will never know the real stories. So the interpretation is that the head of the family who is sitting in this, in the blue ship here, because he is in a ship, it has been interpreted that he came from Europe as either a colonizer or as a trader, and he took on a wife in Sumatra and established a large family. So every tampan is unique, and it is as unique as the family that created it. Now, we the travelers have lost ourselves in the stories of the grandma and have one last question for her. She is tired, but seeing our excitement, she obliges. And we ask her about strange dragons that we see in many of the pieces. There simply are no parallels with animals of today. So what are all these creatures? Here's one. This looks like a little bit like the Komodo dragons in the island called Komodo, but the one on top looks more like a camel, none of which have been found in Indonesia. So we really don't know what these are. And we go on, we show her some of these specifically and ask her what these are. This one could be, you know, a dragon with a funny hum at the back. There are too many such odd creatures in Tampan Ship Cloths to be written off as mere artistic license, or to be struck off as the work of a poor artist who didn't know how to draw or how to weave. So we thought, okay, there is some symbolism here. There must be representing some real animals. Let's ask the grandma again. But here she fumbles. Her eyes cloud up as she recalls the words of her own grandmother. And she tells us that in Indonesia, there are several active volcanoes. And the most destructive one was called Krakatau. In 1883, it erupted, destroying itself and the surrounding region. And the tsunami that followed the volcanic eruption led to widespread devastation, in which most people lost their lives. In this tragedy, not only did people lose their lives, but along with them, the cultural knowledge and traditions also went extinct. Included in everything that was lost is the craft of weaving tampans, the meanings of these motifs, the algorithms for placing these motifs, and the structures. Who are these dragons? All of these answers were completely lost in 1883 in a single day. The traditions were extinguished. The knowledge of these traditions was extinguished. And after that, no one quite knows what all of this stands for. She wistfully told us that passing on our knowledge from one generation to the next is like passing on the flame using a single lit candle. If that single live flame fails to light another before dying out, there will be darkness again. Sadly, in the case of tampans, that is exactly what happened, and this extraordinary craft is no longer practiced.
Oh.
So we began this journey to Sumatra with some excitement, trying to solve some mysteries. But we end with a sense of loss, because a journey into the unknown is fun, but a journey into the unknowable is heart-wrenching, mind-wrenching, and you can never get over the feeling of helplessness at not knowing. But we can still enjoy their beauty with our eyes, and we can still celebrate the art of Tampan textiles, like these two dancing men. Can you see the dancing men? I don't know if I'm imagining this, but I liked this piece because I see them, putting their hands up in the air and celebrating despite their tragic story. So with this, we end with Oscar Wilde's quote that all art is at once surface and symbol, and it is the search for symbolisms and the stories hidden within that keep collectors and students of textile art riveted to traditional textiles. So thank you for your time, and we can now have questions. I think we finished well in time, right? So I'll stop the screen sharing.
Hi. Yes, I actually was lucky enough. My father spent many, many years in oil exploration in Sumatra and in Indonesia, and it went over probably 85 different times. And unfortunately, my father passed away about 1.5 years ago, but he has, I don't know if you can see me, and I'll take it and I'll email you a photograph, but I have a beautiful ship's cloth that I had framed. And he also has a Putasha Batak bark book. And I found your site primarily because I've been really trying to research it. And I've reframed the ship's cloth. It's in perfect condition. So I wanted to definitely join in today's conversation because I have quite a history with my father.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you could show it to us, that would be wonderful, but I'm sure it's not right handy with you right now.
It's on the wall, but I'll send an email to you
Yeah,
of the photograph.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Very wonderful.
It's a wonderful subject. Yeah.
All right. Do we have any questions? Let's just see this.
Oh, can you tell us about the colors?
Sorry?
Can you tell us about the colors of the dyes?
Yeah, so all of these that we have, at least the ones that I showed you, they're all natural dyes. And there's not, I mean, when I look at textiles, I can tell some dyes as being natural and not. But my expectation in all these, my guess is that all of these, because they were made in the 1800s, they are quite likely all natural dyes because chemicals hadn't reached these parts in that period. So I believe in 1930s is when the big companies started moving east. But most of these are made in the late 1800s. So they're probably all just natural dyes, but I don't know the technical details of these.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to thank you again for another smashing talk. I was with you on Saturday.
Yes, all right.
And I love the way you create a story for us and teach us lots about a piece of textile through an apparently casual story. It makes it very accessible and very memorable. So thank you again.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm so glad because I know that, I've sat through some or even reading. It becomes hard to read about the warps and the wefts. But if you have these kinds of, tales, then you can just listen on for hours. So I'm just putting myself in, I don't want you all to fall asleep. And I might fall asleep in the story. So it's like, this is a better way. So I've worked
Yes,
with
it's
children
great. Thank you.
So with children, it's like you have to keep them engaged with all of this. So it's like, the rest of us haven't grown up either, why should we be treated differently? So,
Absolutely. Thank you.
There I am. I wanted to ask a question. Because of the tsunami and, that eruption, how were these textiles preserved through all that disaster?
I don't know, but maybe they were able to recover some of these or because these were produced in one part of Sumatra. Sumatra is very big. And it's pretty close to Singapore. So I thought, I'll just hop over to Sumatra. And then when I looked at the geography, it's a very large area. And the weaving section was Lampung. Maybe people, moved to other places before this happened. And a few, I don't know if there are more than 1,000, 1,000 is an outer limit. This is again a guess based on no real data. But based on what I see in the market, and on the internet, I don't think there will be more than 1,000 pieces. And for the size of Indonesia, for its population, 1,000 is a very small number. So maybe it is that families, they managed to salvage some of their property and this remained with them, or people marry and then they go and live somewhere else and they weren't affected by the tsunami. So, or, it could be that because in the tsunami we had in 2004, I was in the Indian coastal belt where I went to volunteer my time. And what we saw was that people had died. There was no damage. I mean, there was, damage to property just along the coast, but the houses inside hadn't been affected. The property was okay because trees came in and bashed you and you died because you couldn't hold the impact. But buildings and homes were safe enough. So maybe, I don't know if they were comparable, the tsunami in 2004 in Aceh in Sumatra again, and the tsunami of 1883. But if there was any parallel, then maybe the property was saved and the people died. That's just one possibility.
Thank you.
Also, I think the eruption was in North Sumatra, whereas this is South Sumatra. Is
Yes,
it not from the area of Lamphun?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. But the 1883 one did affect the Lampung area, right? So that,
Today we will be going over how to join a Zoom meeting. We've got a couple options, but we'll go through the first one.
yeah. Sorry, I couldn't hear the whole question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole. Could you repeat? Okay, maybe to the next one. Yes. So we have a good audience today. I don't
Yeah.
even, yeah.
Okay.
We have 20
I-
people at this.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please. Yes.
It's not a ship's cloth, but from Sumatra, I brought back a couple of eiders
Yes.
that I would love to know more about. They're quite long. I used to have them all around my, and but the two are very different styles, but there's quite an amazing weaving.
Yes.
Um, I cannot find any information about them. Here's the other one.
Yes.
And again, it's very, very, very long. I understood that around the,
Long,
you know,
right?
the longhouse, that it would go around. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't got any of these myself, so I don't know much about the textile itself. But I can tell you that these are again used to decorate the home, which is obvious, and possibly at ceremonies again, because textiles are what people used to consider, you know, because they put in their own effort into the textiles. So they see that as very valuable and use that to decorate. So today we use lights, you know, on our festivals, those little bulbs and tinsel. But in the olden days, it was always textiles, something that you'd created. But I cannot say I know enough about those either-eithers. I don't even know how to pronounce it because I've only read
Yeah.
about it and I haven't spoken to anyone about it. So either.
Do you know of a resource where I could learn more about it?
I could
About
check.
the
If
eiders?
you email me, I'll look for it. I'll look for something and send you something if you email me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome.
Are these textiles still used today?
I think so, but in, you know, traditional families, they're not making them anymore. So if the younger generation, it depends on what their thinking is. Sometimes they, you know, like it's all over Asia. There is, on one hand, everyone's trying to catch up with modern concepts and modern lives. And on the other hand, you're trying to hold on to your older traditions. And this is everywhere in Asia, except maybe Japan. Japan is a good example where they completely, I mean, Japan also, the younger generation is a different kettle of fish, but the older ones hold on to their traditions. Whereas in other places, it's like it's very individual, whether you want to follow it or not. And but you do still see enough examples in homes to feel that it's not a dead tradition yet. But give it 1 or 2 generations, and you probably won't see this anymore. No one's making these. I think about 20, 30 years ago, people tried to copy these in Laos. And you have a few examples coming from there, very good weavings, but made of much thicker yarn. So it's different. You can hold it and you can make out that this is not the same as the old.
So in other words, in the markets, there would not be any fakes, any modern versions.
There will not be fakes, but because of this Laos textiles, you know, the revival, because they're very good at weaving. So I think that there was an attempt to revive it or copy it. You know, they learn from each other. I don't think there is always an evil intent to fake something as much as to say, okay, let's try and make that. Let's see if we can recreate that. And some people may want to revive it. But there are, you know, either there are these 30, 40-year-old pieces or there are 100-year-old pieces. There's nothing recent because these are not easy to make. and the numbers they command don't warrant that exercise of finding somebody who will make you a fake piece and so on. So
I'd imagine that the market for this type of textile would be pretty limited. So there would be no.
yeah, I mean, I keep thinking that there must be 500 of us textile fanatics in the world who keep, you know, going crazy over, oh, what a weave, oh, how beautiful this embroidery is.
I used to live in Jakarta, and my daughter has a house in Bali. So I go to Indonesia often
Okay.
and have a few of these.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Bali has some stores which they have, you know, good stocks of. But if you
Yeah, but a lot of.
yeah, in Indonesia, you know, the Jakarta Museum has some fabulous pieces too.
Yes.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, I lived in Jakarta for a while.
okay. Yeah, I haven't gone there yet, though it's an hour away from Singapore. I haven't gone yet. So.
I always said Jakarta was a city, a village pretending to be a city.
Yes. Yeah.
I also lived in Singapore.
Or Singapore too, is it? Yeah, Singapore's a city pretending to be we are somewhere else, not in Asia. I hope there are no Singaporeans who won't like what I'm saying.
So, Jenna, I have a question.
Yes. What do you have behind you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it's blown up, so it's white work embroidery, but it's enlarged. So I have construction behind me normally, so I put that there. Anyways, first of all, I'd like to thank you. I think your talk was wonderful. I really appreciate it. I did have two questions. The first one is, do you know what the thread count of the warp and weft are approximately, and are they similar on most of the pieces? And the second question.
I can email you the answer because I can look at the textiles. I have close-ups and I can look at, they're not
Okay.
me right now, they're in Singapore and I'm in India right now.
Yes.
Goa. So I'll have a look and I will send you the answer to that.
Oh, wonderful. And then my other question is, I was reading about some of the ship cloths, and it mentioned that some of them contain a metal foil thread or a metal wrapped thread. And I'm wondering how often you saw that, and do any of your pieces have that?
I have about 3 or 4 where there are remnants of metal pieces. Then, you know, you can see them, it's maybe a 1 millimeter, it's not a wire, but it's a flattened, it's like a ribbon. A metal ribbon
Okay.
has been woven through, but there are only bits and pieces remaining because somebody's taken it out before me, you know, some previous owner. So it's not easy to examine it without destroying the textile as it is. So if I take it out to check whether it's gold or whatever, I will be breaking, you know, what's left of it. So but I have seen the metal ribbons in my textiles. And there's one which has come to me in Singapore. I haven't seen it because I've been stuck here since March because of the lockdown. But there's one where there is a metal thread and I'm waiting to look at it because it's not something I had seen earlier, like the zari and like you have in all the other weavings of Bali, songkets, you know, you see that. This one seems to have that kind of work, you know, the fine thread, but metallic thread. So you do see that, but maybe 1 in 10, 15 pieces have that. 1 in 15, 20, maybe 1 in 20 pieces have this kind of thing. But none are
and does the metal
see them anymore? Yeah.
Does the metal thread is it seem to be used in a certain area on a certain motif of the design? Is it on the ship or on the people or?
It's just decorative and it's not to highlight, you know, maybe the face or it's not used like that. Because I've seen in other stalls where they use something else for the face and everything else is different. So they've not done that here. So it's a series of geometrical, you know, motifs and one blue, yellow, red, silver, and blue, yellow, you know, so it's a repeat. So it's not an unusual motif for which they've used this. And the other
thank you very
much.
Just
a border kind of thing. So I'll send you pictures. You email me because I'll probably forget later who asked which question. but I'll send you the picture.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Mm.
Okay.
No.
Yes. Any more questions? So, I was going to say we have another talk coming up next week on the 2nd, where we'll be doing narrative textiles, which are meant to tell a story. And then after that, I'm thinking of doing an interview with one of the tribal people I know here. They've stopped working on their Banjaras, and they don't want to continue with this textile art anymore. And I thought I'd interview one of them on, live in their full beautiful dress, call them here and let them talk, and you can send, talk and ask your questions, because they have given up, and it is this first generation that is not teaching their daughters how to do this. And there are plenty of reasons, but it's best if it's heard firsthand from these people.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good idea to have?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So we can plan this in mid-October. And there was one other idea to do a show and tell, where, several people can volunteer to show what their textiles are and tell us something about it over 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And we can do maybe 5 textiles each time. And the next time, after 2 or 3 talks, we do a show and tell. And then 2 or 3 talks, and then we do the show and tell. So that should be more.
I love it. Wonderful idea. That would be so great.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We get to, have who else cares about it? Like if I tell my children, I don't know if they're attending this call, but if I tell my children, oh, look at this beautiful textile, they're like, okay, please don't disturb me. I'm studying. People, very absurd excuses. And so it's like, here we are, all of us love the same thing, so it should be fun. So we can
thank you.
Yeah.
So are you going to send out notices to all of us about the next talks? Are you going to send links?
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll send you the links on the exact, I don't think I have a record of who's attended, but everyone who had registered, I'll send out this list to everybody. So you have it with you. It's also on my website. So on the same page, you'll see that, events and talks. So you'll see all the details of upcoming talks as and when the schedule gets fixed. So we plan this once a week. It's Friday. Go ahead. You were saying something? Somebody was saying something?
Well, Jenna, I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask one more question before we leave about the Tampa. I've been a docent here in San Francisco and a few museums. And as I recall, during that period of time, we used to think of the ships as carrying the spirits to eternity or to another place. Was that ever mentioned to you? They were funereal.
Like Ship of the Dead.
That could be.
Yeah, ships of the dead.
Ships of the, maybe. I'll read up, but I haven't heard this interpretation. But, it's not like I know everything about Tampan Ship Cloths. So maybe what you were saying could be an additional piece of information. So it could be that too. So we need to just add all of this. All I can say is that even what I have told you is largely conjecture, not my own conjecture, but conjectures of people who now survive and who hold these pieces, and they are the keepers of knowledge. But nobody knows for sure how it was originally created. So it's like, oral histories get passed down and they get contaminated as time passes. So whoever's telling us this and whoever's written the books about all of this, it's all like Chinese whispers. And since this is not a living tradition, the weaving is not a living tradition, it's, you can have many, many different orthogonal kind of interpretations that don't tie up with each other. But I'll read up some more and see what I can find out about this and that. Should be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I have this book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Rites of Passage, and it's called Textiles of the Indonesian Archipelago from the collection of Mary Hunt Kallenberg. And it has a whole bunch of examples
Okay. Yes, I've seen that about the ikats as well.
Could you say that again, please?
And yeah, could you just repeat that?
Yeah, okay, it's called Rites of Passage. And it's textiles of the Indonesian archipelago from the collection of Mary Hunt Kallenberg. And if you look her up, I'm sure she has fabulous collection that's in all museums. You can find a lot of examples.
What is her name again, Mary?
Mary Hunt, H-U-N-T, Kallenberg, K-A-H-L-E-N-B-E-R-G.
Great, thank you.
I don't know who, oh, this is from the Mingay Museum.
Sorry?
The Mingay Museum in San Diego.
In San Diego. It's published by the Mingay Museum in San Diego.
Thank you.
You know, sooner or later in the next couple of minutes, I think Zoom is going to shut us all off. So thank you for
Yes, I think.
And I think before they rudely cut us off, we can just say bye-bye to everybody, unless we have any
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Gina.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really great.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That
you.
was
I'm
very
glad you
interesting.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I hope to see everyone again.
Where are you?
Yes?
Okay.
You know, next time it would be be great to know where everybody is coming into the Zoom from.
Yeah, okay, that'll be good.
I'm coming in from New York, but I'm sure we're all from around the world, and it would be
Okay,
interesting
yeah,
to
let's
know.
go ahead, everyone. If
We're from Atlanta.
okay,
Atlanta.
there's
I'm from Bath,
Yeah.
Bath in the UK.
I'm from Los Angeles, but for some reason my photograph is coming up from Orcas Island up in the Puget Sound, where I sent my daughter to camp. So I don't know why I had that up, but I'm in Los Angeles.
I'm in Alberta, Canada.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, you have,
I have another
Now
meeting.
in Georgia.
okay.
Delhi,
I'm
India.
I'm from Oroville, India.
Sumana.
And San Francisco.
Okay, and we have Anthony.
Gundi, you're in Germany.
Oh, great.
Huh?
All right.
Gail?
So we have a
Atlanta's pretty clear.
map.
Actually, you have a good Atlantic contingent.
Yeah.
I have another meeting. Goodbye, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.